All right, so Ellis Joshua, joined alongside by Coach Wink, back for part number two of this week's episode of the Weekly Crossbar. So, continuing with our recap summary over this past week, we're up to April 15th, where the LILJ covered a number of games that day. So, the first game of the day was an early morning start over at Plainedge between Plainedge and Roslyn on the boys' side. And that was a 10-8 win for Plainedge. And that's a good win for them. And those are two teams also that are new to the Power Conference this year, in Nassau County. So they're playing against some of the upper tier competition in Nassau. And I feel like that was kind of a measuring stick game, so to speak, for those two teams going head to head. So that one was back and forth. Roslyn had a two-goal lead early in that game, but for the most part, again, it was a back and forth game. And Plainedge ended up prevailing in that game. And Owen Donnellan, talking about the offense for them, he had 3 goals along with 3 assists in that game. Donnellan, the senior, committed to Stony Brook. Dom Agavino, he had a goal and 2 assists. Also, Andrew Picardi with a hat trick, 3 goals. Christian Duana in the net, 7 saves for Plainedge. And defensively, Jackson Goronski, really good defensively, a shutdown pole for Plainedge in that game. And I thought he played very well as well. And then for Roslyn, Zach Mashall, he had 10 saves. So I thought he really kept them in that game, kind of gave them a chance to win. And then also offensively, Daniel Prussian, he had 2 goals, and Gavin Ryback with 1 goal and 2 assists for Roslyn. But that was a really competitive game. That was a fun game to cover to start off the day because that was a long day for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of lacrosse that day, and we had Jill out. Well, you were covering Roslyn and Plainedge. She was covering Roslyn and Roslyn on the girls' side.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the Roslyn boys and the Roslyn girls covered that day. So Jill was at the girls' game, which was at Roslyn. So they were playing against Carle Place. And Carle Place, they got a big win in that one, 16-6. And so for that, for Carle Place, Reese Aguilar, she had 3 goals and 6 assists. Sophia Petoni, she was 3-3. Madison Reedy, she was 4-1, and Tyler Reedy was 2-3. So Carle Place with a big offensive showing in that game to get a 16-6 win.
And then obviously after that game, after we went to the Plainedge Roslyn game, we went back and saw the same teams that we saw the day before, but on the boys' side.
Oh yeah. Back back in the Dale, back-to-back days. So we saw the boys on the 15th, Southside and Farmingdale. So it was the Southside girls getting a win on the girls side, but for the boys, it was Farmingdale getting the win. And that was a good bounce back for Farmingdale. They had a tough loss against Cary just a few days before that. So to bounce back against Southside, that had to be a feel-good win for them. 6-4 was your score, which I feel like that's a Farmingdale type of game, no? Like if you were to be told going into it that the final score would be 6-4, you'd probably say that Farmingdale was going to win that game because that's just their style of play.
Yeah, yeah, they're the blue collar lunch pail guys, just like their coach Eric Dunn, where defense reigned supreme, and they defensively did a great job on a talented Southside team.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Matt Hughes in the net, 15 saves. 15 saves with just the 4 goals allowed. So you want to talk about having a day. Then one of the guys that we've really been impressed with on the defensive end for Farmingdale is the pole, Mike Galgano. He
He's
was
an that kid's an animal. I have
he
always
was
said
he was phenomenal. Junior committed to UMass.
we saw him play last year against Massapequa
Yep.
at the middle school.
Yes, we
Uh,
did.
I remember saying, I love this kid. And he's only gotten bigger, stronger, faster, and better. And we loved him last year. That kid is an absolute beast. They have, Farmingdale has a couple kids. The kid,
Josh
Josh,
Kama. Yeah.
he's an animal. That kid's an animal.
He's a tank.
It's like trying to cover that kid's an issue.
Hmm.
And the kid, Dean Kopp, played great in that game, by the way.
Yeah, Dean Cott in that game, he was 2-1 for Farmingdale. Um, and I thought too, one of the big plays in that game, it was actually started by Mike Algano on defense. He had a caused turnover, stripped the ball, came up with the GB, and then sent the ball up ahead to Dean Cott. and then Dean Cott, he took care of the rest, scoring the goal. But that was a nice little defense to offense type of play right there.
A little Farmingdale transition, baby. That was a good win for them, and they definitely needed it. And I thought I can definitely see they'll be ready for whoever in the playoffs in the A's between Syosset and Port and Pequot. The Farmingdale Pequot game is going to be interesting. I mean, because that rivalry is always pretty interesting, and obviously Pequot's a lot better. They're great young coaches doing a great job. We'll talk about him a little later, but the later that day, that was a 1 o'clock game, guys. Just so you know, we went 9:30, 11:30, 1 o'clock, and then we went over to St. Anthony's to do a little St. Anthony, Darien, Connecticut. And we started with the JV.
Yeah,
We
we had the
did,
JV edition to start the day.
and we do that because St. Anthony's is so talented that they have. I mean, we'll just talk about. So St. Anthony's stars now on the varsity. A couple of their stars, Cameron Pupke, who we'll talk about, um, Anna Christie.
Emma
Okay,
Speed.
right, but they're 26s. Emma was on varsity. Those two
Oh,
girls,
okay. Yeah, yeah.
one's going to Northwestern, one's going to Princeton. They were on JV last year, guys.
Right.
In any other public school, there are starters on the varsity. You know what
No
I mean?
doubt.
When they're
I
sophomores.
agree.
So the sophomore class at St. Anthony's are, and we'll talk about a few of these kids, they're high-level Division I kids. So we wanted to make sure we watched them. And then Darien, same thing. They had a bunch of really high-quality kids that are going to be recruits in the 27 and 28 class. So we got to see some. Darien had St. Anthony's JV on the ropes early on, no?
Yeah, they were on the ropes in the beginning. But then
They were down 2-0, right?
yeah, they were down 2-0, and then St. Anthony scored three straight, took the lead. First quarter ended up being even. It was 4-4 after the first. But yeah, Darien got off to a quick start, but St. Anthony's they had a response.
Yeah, Coach Schreiber, Coach Napolitano did a great job getting those girls ready. Who are the POGs for the JV St. A's team?
So the POGs, we went with midfielder Melania Morio, scored a goal, also was big on the draw in that game as well. So we went with Melania Morio at midfield, and then we went with two defenders. We went with Danny Torrey and Sierra Reapy.
All three of those girls will be early commits come the fall of 2025. And they're playing JV at St. Anthony's, just so we understand. They are big time lacrosse players. And there's others on that team as well. And the team they played. I got to tell you something. The next game, Ellis, I said this to you, I think, was the best atmosphere for a girls' high school lacrosse game I've ever been to.
I
It
second
was
that.
electric.
It really was. It was an unbelievable atmosphere for number one St. Anthony's going up against number four Darien. And yeah, the crowd was phenomenal. It was electric. Looked like they had a blackout going, which I thought was sick. But like one of the things like we talked about with the crowd, like it's not like they were just cheering when St. Anthony scored goals. Like they were cheering on caused turnovers. They were cheering on big saves. Like it was great.
I don't know if anybody's ever been to like a big time high school basketball game. Have you ever been into a gym? You probably have because you went to Lehigh, where you're in a big time high school basketball gym and it's full. And every time like a guy gets stripped, you get a layup or a dunk or whatever, and everybody's losing their mind in the
Yeah.
in the stands. That's what it felt like. I mean, at one point, um, Annalisa Annalisa
Mm-hmm.
stole the ball from behind the goal, and the roar was like they scored a game winner in OT.
Yeah.
It was so much fun just to be a part of this. We were lucky enough to have a front row seat. It was so everybody understands. Darien, it was like a boxing match back in the day. Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray. where they just were beating the you know what out of each other, punch for punch. What was it, 8-8 going into the fourth?
Yep, 8-8 going into the fourth. And that was the fourth quarter was the difference. A
Yeah,
5-0 shutout for St. Anthony's. That was the difference.
yeah.
And I mean,
The,
we'll run through the players that stepped up, of course. But
changing the circle, I thought the coaching staff at SA did a good job moving. They brought Pupke in. Molly Heine. I mean, if you haven't seen this game, you could find it somewhere. Molly Heine was an absolute beast. Like I thought this kid was gonna die on the field. I was exhausted watching how hard she was playing. Like I was getting tired from her effort. She worked so hard, that kid.
she's an absolute workhorse.
Would she go 4-2 in that game?
She was 4-2.
She took every draw for 3 quarters. The move putting Pupke and putting her on the wing with speed, they must have won 3 or 4 straight, right? They won a couple straight
Yeah,
draws.
they had a bit of a run where they had the edge in the draw for like about 3 or 4 straight.
And then they were pumping them in. I mean, the transition goal where I couldn't even turn my head fast enough to
Oh,
watch it.
yeah, you blink and you missed what happened. You missed them getting the ball up the field.
It was unbelievable. That was then there was a sick goal that I just saw on video. Someone posted on social of Christie hitting speed. Speed stuck it. I mean, there was some like highlight goals, highlight defensive plays. Jess Black.
I was
I
gonna
don't want
say,
to forget about her.
no,
She played unbelievable.
well, we said before it was 8-8 going into the fourth. They could have been down a goal if not for that save.
Oh, that's right. She made
The
that save
save, the save at the end of the third quarter.
the free puck.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're bringing it back to me. See, my old age is seeping in. You're gonna have to help me. I mean, we could literally name that whole team that played in that game. You had 6 POGs if you don't count the head coach for St. Anthony's. I know we gave Darcy one because it was such a big win for her. I mean, she's beaten Lisa Lindley, who is arguably Lisa Lindley and Carle Rose are 2 of the best coaches in the universe.
Yeah, they're two goats in
They
girls
go.
lacrosse without
They're
question.
they're Mount Rushmore. If you put around
Yes.
Rushmore, you got Carle Rose, Lisa Lindley, the woman down, Cassie, what's her name? She has like 800 wins. She's down in DC. Gussie's her first name. She'd be on it. But those 2 women, and Darcy in her first 2 years of coaching St. Anthony's has
2-0
beaten
against
Lisa
Coach
Lindley
Wink.
twice.
Yeah.
And both games have been great.
Oh, phenomenal. Of course, last year, a triple overtime game. This year, no overtime needed, but still just an unbelievable game. Those are 2 of the most skilled teams that you'll see going against each other.
So your 6 POGs were Jess Black in the net, Emma Speed, lefty stud going to Florida. Black's going to Army, Speed's going to Florida, Heine's going to Hopkins. Then Kat Ratchin, who's an absolute dog, who's going to Florida State.
That kid is tough as hell.
Oh, she tough. Christie going to Northwestern, who's an absolute wizard. And then Pupke going to Princeton. I just name it's unbelievable where these kids are going to school. It's almost like I'm making it up. It's all true. And all 6 of these girls played amazing. And then you could talk about the defense, you could talk about the offense, you could talk about in between, you could talk about the coaching, both sides of the ball. It was like a chess match. All right, you're gonna move your pawn here. I'm gonna move my bishop over here. Oh, you're gonna move your rook there. I'm gonna move my queen here. That's what was going on in this game. It was an electric atmosphere. And I know you did a great job covering it. I thought Tyler Kresser and
Yep.
Christine Canigliara did a great job with the video. So kudos to you guys, because that was definitely, it did not disappoint, the 1-4 in the nation.
No, that game had all the juice behind it.
It was unbelievable. And then we did a triple header on Wednesday.
Yeah,
We're basically
Wednesday.
in the same spot twice, right? 2 places at the same time.
Yeah, so Wednesday. So we'll start with the boys game. So that game Wednesday was Middle Country against Whitman. So that game we had streamed going on actually. So shout out to also LI Sports Network. Shout out to Brady for holding it down on the live stream. Middle Country getting an 11-3 win against Whitman. And I thought Brady did a great job because I did go back and listen to some of that broadcast. I thought he did a really good job, not just calling the game, but also doing the POGs after as well. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Brady Campbell because I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, Brady's awesome. Brady's a lacrosse hockey guy who's really learning the girls game, and he's a big asset to the LALJ and LA Sports Network.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Middle Country in that game, Dom Otis, he had 5 goals. Jack Cavalieri, he had 4 goals in the net. Declan Cleary with 11 saves. So Middle Country getting that win. For Whitman, Patrick McManus, the opposing goalie, he had 11 saves as well. But that was that was a game that we had live streamed. And again, just want to shout out Brady Campbell and LA Sports Network for putting together a really good live stream.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can watch all that stuff on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and watch any of the games that we live stream, feel free to go to the LA Lacrosse Journal YouTube channel and you can watch it. We were lucky enough to go watch 2 undefeated C teams in Suffolk.
Yup. We're
And
back.
we had a front row seat to like a great game.
We literally had a front row seat. We were right there. I was caught in the crossfire a
You
little
were in the penalty box.
bit. Yeah. Yeah, I was in the penalty box.
Bayport, for those that don't know that, they have an unbelievable all lacrosse field. It's only line for lacrosse where the girls play all their games, but the
The boys
parents
too.
what's that?
The boys too. Boys
Oh, the
play.
boys play all their
Yeah,
games there too?
pretty much, unless they're playing at night.
The fans are really low. So we don't cover the game on the fan side, which we usually do, because we end up blocking the parents. And obviously the parents are there to see their kids play. So we cover that game in the penalty box. And Ellis doesn't love it. I love it personally, because I love listening to coaches coach. And when you get to listen to Ryan Gick and Matt Maloney coach, it's like a masterclass. They are 2 of the best. And Maloney to me is one of the funniest guys around, but when they're coaching, they are so into it and they got after it. And that was I thought the first half, like I couldn't have told you after the first half who was going to win that game.
No, because the first half score was 6-5 Bayport, but Westhampton scored the first 2 goals of the game, I believe. They were up 2-0.
Yeah, at first it looked like Westhampton had it all figured out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Then
they got off to a good start, but of course
it
Bayport
looked like,
gonna make
this is
adjustments.
just my take from a coach's level. It looked like Ryan and Matt made halftime adjustments because the second half looked nothing like the first half.
Yeah. Yeah, the second half they really gained control.
What was the final of that?
Final was 13-7.
Yeah,
So
so
it
it's a
went from
6 goal. It went from a
Yeah.
1 goal to a 6 goal.
Yeah.
5 goal difference.
Yeah.
I gotta shout out Ava Mine
Yeah.
because Ava Mine looked like the player that I saw the first time I saw her when she was in like 9th or 8th grade, when she was playing for Joe in club. She can literally take over a game by herself, but she's now learned how to let the game come to her. And I think she took over the second half. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think she took over, but I just think she was very decisive. Very decisive, um, very like authoritative, commanding. Like I just thought it was one of those things where it's just like you kind of have tunnel vision a bit, and like it's just okay, now it's time for me to take over this game. And we know she has the skills to do so.
You know, it's funny. I'm glad at my age, and I know we're very similar when it comes to this. Like when you talk about matchups, I am so excited for the Bayport Sayville matchup because those are 2 great teams led by great coaches. Like
Yeah.
I'm so pumped for that game. Like, I
Hmm.
think that game is going to have a very similar feeling to the St. Anthony Darien game.
Yeah.
I
I,
really do, because those are
I guess.
both national level teams. Both those teams, there isn't a team in the country that I don't think Bayport and Sayville can run with.
Hmm.
And if there is, I want to see them because they're pretty
Yeah.
special.
They got to make a call to St. Anthony's. Get a game on the schedule. I want to see that.
Yeah, it's funny. I know that we were working on a Sayville game. Bayport didn't have any room because they played GC and they were going up to Victor. But
Right.
there was supposed to be a Sayville St. Anthony game and it didn't happen. And I know that because, I mean, Darcy's from Sayville. She lives in Sayville. Her family's lived there for 1.2 million years. So, she just didn't want to play in the community that she grew up in. But that's a game everybody would like to see. Garden City against St. Anthony's a game everybody would want to see, on the island.
Yeah.
They were supposed to play Manhasset. They're playing Cold Spring Harbor, by the way, May 14th, which could
Yeah.
possibly be their last game before the playoffs. It is their last game before the playoffs. So they're still they play Wilton and New Canaan. New Canaan and Wilton are they're playing Wilton next week. But yeah,
Right.
it's very cool. I mean, we're lucky. We're lucky that we get to do what we do and get to watch these kids that are so amazing.
Oh my
Right?
gosh, dude. This is what I live for. This is my favorite time of year, because this is how I broke in. So covering the high school games. So
Yeah, and
I, I
then
love I love this time of year.
yeah, and it's the same thing with the girls. I mean, we talked about the boys and all these teams that we're covering. After the Bayport Westhampton game ended, okay, by the way, I thought Ava Derby played awesome for
Yeah,
Westhampton. I don't and Maya Farnan played awesome.
yeah. And I thought for Bayport, I want to mention Shannon Carney and Emma Shanahan.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, yeah. Defensively, Shannon Carney. There's a charge that she took, which I thought was kind of a turning point in the game as well. And I that's something also that I love seeing. I love seeing defenders take charges.
Yeah, because you
That
love
jacks me
basketball.
up. Yeah, exactly.
I'm the same
Exactly.
way.
Yeah. But Shannon Carney and Emma Shanahan just between the lines, doing all the dirty work, gritty. Like again, those are the players that you need. You need those glue players, like you were saying in part one. And Bayport definitely has those.
Yeah, Bayport's got to stay on course and be ready for Sayville because that's going to be a great one. The next game, by the way, I was equally as excited to see, and it did not let me down.
No, the only thing that let us down was the weather.
Well,
Boy,
it was cold.
it was a cold night.
I was whining a lot. I know I was annoying you. I was ready to go home. I was being a little bitch. I know. I was like, I'm freezing my little you know what off. And I'm like, but I got to tell you something. The game warmed me up because both teams were awesome. Smithtown West, Shoreham girls game. First time I saw Shoreham, second time I saw West. Both teams, awesome teams. Watch out for Shoreham. They
Yeah, I think
scare me.
even though Shoreham, so Smithtown West ended up winning that game 12-11, came back too because they were down 11-9 in the fourth quarter. And
It was a great comeback. Great.
yeah, fourth quarter comeback to win that game. But like even though Shoreham lost that game, I think you and I both left that game thinking like Shoreham can be really scary and really dangerous down the road. Because we were talking about, first of all, they just have a ton of really good athletes. I mean, we could talk about Maddie Herr. That kid, of course, can run for days. Maeve Bourguignon. I'm gonna get that right one of these days.
Yeah.
The
That's
key,
our Webinyama. That's our French girl from
yeah,
the she's awesome. That
yeah,
two kids are going to be heavily recruited kids off the island.
yeah, two 27s. Then the 26s. How about the Keegan sisters, Annabelle and Katie?
Dude, the lefty going to Towson. Well,
Yeah,
first of all,
Annabelle's going to Towson.
the the Keegan sisters remind me like they're obviously sisters because they don't even have to know where each other are, and they know where each other are. Like they
Yeah, we
just
saw it.
find
We
each
saw it in
other.
the game.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. But Shoreham's ball movement was impressive.
I thought it was pristine, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, That game could have went either way. I know West came out of that game, exhaling.
Yeah.
West is loaded to the point where if they just buy in and do their jobs, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know what I mean? Like Manila is an absolute beast. She needs to take over the middle of the field, not the offensive side of the field. They got girls to do that. That girl Alyssa Lorifus, is one of the
Oh,
best athletes on the island.
she's another really good feeder. She's a great ex-attacker.
Dude, she is a true point guard.
Yeah, and we talked about her being a stud three-sport athlete. Volleyball, basketball, and of course lacrosse.
It's obvious the way she plays.
Yeah, you can see it. You can
Yeah,
see the correlation between her in basketball and her in lacrosse.
100%. Chiavo, an absolute,
Five.
right?
Five. And how many of them came from Alyssa?
Yeah, it's great. And Kate Theofield's an attacker who owns the draw circle. How many ground balls did Theofield come up with
Yeah,
when they needed the ball?
yeah.
You know what
Especially
I'm saying?
key
They
moments of the
That's
game.
a team right now, West. If they stay connected, watch out for them come May.
Yeah, I'm still very, very high on Smithtown West. They're seeking their third straight county championship appearance, just trying to break the door down this year and get to the LIC.
Yeah, I see your POGs were Rinkowski,
Yeah,
Chiavo, Polina, and Lorifus. I mean, we didn't
yeah.
even name
The
Rinkowski and
turning
Polina. Those are too high.
the, the turning point was Renkowski coming up with big draws when they were down
Yeah,
11-9.
yeah,
Won a few draws in a row, and that's what got them back in the game.
yeah. Good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, that was a great win for Chen's Coach Patron. Shout out to Coach Chen's, who's doing a great job at Smithtown West. They do a great job, by the way, with their music selection.
Yeah, they
Like
do.
I love their music.
I always go there and then I forget that they have the music and then the music starts playing like after they score and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right, they got the music. I love this."
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Shout out to whoever does that. They do a good job there. They have to learn how to pronounce the opponent's last names, though. You give them, they got to do that. All right, then Thursday. This is the last day. We got 4 games to go over. The first game was a doozy, as I like to say.
Yeah, it was. That was a fun game. We made the trip back out to Mount Sinai, this time to see the boys against undefeated Kings Park going into that game. And
Was undefeated.
yeah, exactly. They were undefeated going into that game, but not anymore because Mount Sinai handed Kings Park their first loss of the season, an 8-7 game, and we did go IG live at the end because looked like Kings Park may have had a chance to potentially force overtime, but Sinai came away with the win. And I think we got a start in that game with the goaltending for Mount Sinai because I think it was evident very early in that game that if Sinai was going to be in this game and end up winning, a huge reason why was going to be because of Sean Steimel's play in the net. And he ended up with 18 saves.
Oh, I didn't know he had that many, but he had 4 in the first quarter that were spectacular. One, the one-on-one, I think it was with the kid going to Maryland, Griffin.
Yeah,
Who was it?
Luke
Is that who
Griffin.
he had it on?
Luke Griffin.
Is that who he stuffed on that one-on-one?
I think so. I have to go back and check.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, to be honest with you. But he had 6 saves in the. I mean, that game could have been 4-0 like this, and it was 0-0.
Yeah,
And then Mount Sinai scored the first one, and
right.
that's a game that hopefully Kings Park, their staff will learn from. That's
hmm
when you take a game and you learn from it. Because if you want to be where you're hoping to be at the end of the year, you're going to have to go through Mount Sinai. They're one of the teams you got to beat,
Yeah,
right? I would imagine that
Sinai's showing a lot right now. They're
they
having
are.
they've already won more games this year than they won all of last year. I think they won 4 games last year.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I thought Dante Spadaro played real well.
Yeah,
One
he
thing I
did.
loved about Dante Spadaro was him off ball. He made a play on a fast break. I think a defenseman threw it to him. I don't remember. Oh no, the kid Berger, 17, threw it to him, I think. He cut.
Jackson Berger.
Was it Berger who fed him?
Hmm.
And
I
he
think so.
cut. He was lower right, and he didn't sit on the pipe. He saw that his defenseman was coming up, and instead of he cut, and Berger hit him in a nice, beautiful pass, and he finished it. I thought Spadaro played real well. I
I thought
thought Pugh looked
John
good.
Primataris too.
Oh, that kid number 11.
Yeah,
Yeah, he played really well. He's a tough kid.
yeah.
And I was very impressed, though. I gotta say, even though Kings Park lost, I was impressed with a bunch of their kids. I love the kid 5, Laviano.
Hmm.
I think that kid's a dog. I texted the college coach about him. I said, you gotta recruit this kid. I go, yeah, you see him, he's probably what, 5'6", 5'7",
Yeah, around that I would say.
faces off, plays offense, plays defense. The kid does everything. I mean, I'm sure he takes out the garbage at home. He's unbelievable. That kid is a dog. And their defense was awesome. The kid going to Marist, Gavin
Yeah,
Marzigliano,
Brasigliano.
love that kid. I think their shot selection wasn't great. They got to take better shots. They got to change where they put the ball. I didn't see one kid shoot the ball up. They're all trying to shoot high.
Yeah, and Steimel was over everything.
Steimel might have gotten in their head after the first quarter because that kid was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we're going to see them again.
That could be a potential playoff preview.
I definitely think we'll see that again. I'm very curious to see what happens. From there, right, we drove a little bit. You want to go through our game or you want to go through the game? Let's go through Jill's game, the Oceanside Long Beach game.
Yeah, Jill was over at Oceanside seeing them take on Long Beach, the boys, and Oceanside, they got the win 13-8. Oceanside, another team, by the way, new to the Power Conference this year in Nassau County. But for Oceanside, Luke Miller, he had 4 goals and an assist. Brady Nardone, he had 3 goals. Dylan Bender defensively, and in goals, Sam Feldbaum, he had 10 saves for Oceanside. So Oceanside getting a nice win against that's a rivalry, I would
That's
say.
a huge rivalry. My
Oceanside
dad
Long
went to
Beach.
Oceanside.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Oh,
He
yeah, my dad played basketball when Larry Brown was at Long Beach. True story. My dad was a pretty good basketball player. They had a guy on Oceanside. He was a sophomore. His name was Artie Heyman. Look him up. #1 draft pick for the Knicks. Played at Duke. An Oceanside kid. But the star, my dad's year at Long Beach, was Larry Brown. The you know him as a coach.
Yeah, yep.
He was an unbelievable player. Went to Carolina. My dad told me a story when I was a kid. He goes, I covered him in a box and one, right? Box and one in basketball where you play a zone behind it and one guy covers Larry Brown. Larry Brown put 44 on my dad.
Oh my God.
Pretty funny. My dad was a pretty good athlete, but not Larry Brown level. But anyway, Oceanside and Long Beach is a big rivalry. He ended up becoming buddies with all the Long Beach guys, but while you're in high school, they kind of get after it. We were at a great game, by the way, at 1 o'clock. That game, the Cold Spring Harbor Girls against the Manhasset Girls.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to both programs. That was a good viewing pleasure.
Yeah, that really was. That was a fun game, and Cold Spring Harbor getting the win 11-9 in comeback fashion, down 9-6 going into the fourth. They pitched a shutout in the fourth quarter, outscored Manhasset 5-0 to get the win. So that's a big win for Cold Spring Harbor. I think that would have been a big win for Manhasset, but just unable to hold on in the end. But we got to talk about Liv Malata for CSH, the lefty sophomore attacker. She had herself a day. Three
Listen,
and
I know
three.
this kid since she's in third grade. She's one of the best lacrosse players. She's a basketball player. She's thinking of playing both in college. She could play anywhere in lacrosse. I mean, I've seen her play basketball. She's not playing at UConn for basketball, but she could play at Florida, at North Carolina. This kid is an absolute beast. I mean, you saw some of the plays she made. I mean, and tough.
Yeah, that's another kid, tough as nails.
That team, Coach Spring Harbor doesn't get enough credit. I mean, Danielle Castellan, I know her as Candy. Coach Danielle does such an amazing job with that program. Shout out to Maya Soskin for 600 saves.
Yeah, I was gonna run through that. Um, yeah,
We'll go through that at the end because we got a little thing to talk about Maya. She's
we may
had an
have to do a we
unbelievable.
may have to do a part three. I
Yeah,
think
we could do a part three. Why
yeah.
are we near the end?
Yeah, we got like 3:30.
All right, so why don't we do this? Because I want to talk about the Cold Spring Harbor Manhasset game, the East Islip Massapequa game, and then we want to talk about the top 25. Why don't we jump out and we'll do a part three, and then let everybody know that in part three we'll have the top 25s. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about East
Yeah,
Islip Massapequa boys and
right.
Cold Spring Harbor Manhasset girls. Cool.
Let's do it. All right, so that's gonna do it for part two of this edition of the Weekly Crossbar. We'll be coming back shortly with part number three.